we will say that you are tuned into 91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. I'm thrilled to welcome to show number 301 here, Tony Trischka. Are you on the line?
I am on the line. Thank you for having me, Rita.
Oh my goodness, and thank you so much for being here. It's truly an honor. You're a first-time guest. If I may do a brief introduction, and then we'll get into some conversation. I know you have a busy night ahead of you, so I really do appreciate your time here today. Let me just start out by saying banjo virtuoso Tony Trischka is known as the father of modern bluegrass. Grammy nominee, songwriter, and educator, Tony was named Banjo Player of the Year by the International Bluegrass Music Awards. He also has been named a United States Artists' Friends Fellow. His latest album is titled Shall We Hope? Tony Trischka will be performing tomorrow night, December 16, at Town Crier Cafe in Beacon. We'll be giving away a pair of tickets to that show after this conversation, and with that, a warm welcome to LocalMotion, Tony Trischka.
Thank you, Rita. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. You're a New Yorker, I understand, born up in Syracuse. I'm
a Syracusan by birth and temperament. Yes, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I grew up there. And it's still home in a lot of ways. So I live in New Jersey. I've been here for many years, but New York State is still my home.
It's still your home. Well, we appreciate you taking a little trip up tomorrow to come to the legendary Town Crier. I understand that music was part of your life as long as you've known it because of your parents. They were such musical folks, although your dad, if I'm correct, was a physics professor at Syracuse University.
That's correct, and I certainly didn't follow in his footsteps, although I teach, so I guess in that sense. But, yeah, I'm not so good at quantum mechanics. But, yeah, no, my parents would listen to, we had some Broadway shows. We had My Fair Lady, The King and I, and we had some Stravinsky, Beethoven's Ninth, things like that. But also my parents were pretty left-wing, and my mother went to school with Toshi Seeger, Pete Seeger's wife, and we had Pete Seeger recordings, the Almanac Singers that Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie were a part of, et cetera, so, and the Weavers. So I grew up with a pretty strong folk background.
Yeah, you did. What was your first instrument?
My first instrument was the flute, and I wish I kept that because it's so much lighter than schlepping a heavy-duty banjo around airports. But it was not to be. And then I went to piano and then guitar during the folk scare of the early 60s, and then discovered the banjo through the Kingston Trio's MTA, and there was a banjo solo on there that changed my dang life.
Changed your life. And you took a banjo at the age of 14, is that correct?
Yep, that's when it was, yeah. I got the Kingston Trio at large, and that song MTA was on there, and their banjo player, Dave Gard, and his solo played 16 notes. I went, whoa, I've got to learn how to do this.
Now, is this true that the first thing you learned to play on banjo was Beethoven's Ninth?
Not the entire piece, but yes, the famous Ode to Joy. Da 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 da. I just picked that out on the banjo.
That's freaking amazing! On the banjo.
Yeah, I just heard it, and I found those notes on the fingerboard. I heard it in my head, and I loved that piece of music, and just played it. I got it on Christmas Day, probably 63.
Wow.
So that's.
Do you still have it, Tony?
That banjo?
Yeah.
I don't, unfortunately. I traded it for, more of a bluegrass kind of a banjo. It was a long neck banjo because that's what, Pete Seeger had and the Kingston Trio had. So it was a Christie. The brand name was Christie, which is long since gone. But here and there, one crops up. I just miss buying one, just to have it. So, But anyway, yeah. I no longer have it.
And I heard a great story, I think, that you did in a previous interview that you had lots of influence, but you also influences. You also met Bob Dylan back in Syracuse when I guess he was just starting out, and you obviously were too.
Yeah, his career was a little farther ahead than mine was when I was 14, but this was 1963, and my very first banjo teacher, a guy named John Gaines, when I went for my first lesson, he had a record in the corner of his bedroom or wherever where I was taking the lesson, and it was a guy named Bob Dylan. Or at least that's what I thought it was pronounced. And it was autographed, and it turned out my teacher knew Bob Dylan from the Village. This was, again, in the early 60s. And so when Dylan came to Syracuse to do a benefit concert, and this was 1963, in October of 63. Anyway, I went with my banjo teacher. I got to go backstage and meet him, and he had really long fingernails. I remember that. And then we were able to go over to his hotel room afterwards across the street. And Bob came over to me and said, "Would you like something to drink?" And I said, "I'll have a Coke." And he went down the hall and bought me a Coca-Cola.
Oh, man.
So,
that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, at the age of 14, I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. You certainly definitely were. Bluegrass. When did you start getting into bluegrass?
Well, pretty early on, because I heard the Kingston Trio, heard that song, and there was this picking thing that he was doing. It was kind of like bluegrass, and I asked him, "Where can I hear more of this?" And I said, "Well, there's a guy named Earl Scruggs. Maybe you should check him out." And so I did, and I got a Flatt and Scruggs album called Folk Songs of Our Land, which was, because Earl's wife Louise was really good at kind of getting Flatt and Scruggs into the kind of music they should be playing at a certain time, and crafting their career. She was very influential in their career. Since folk music was big, let's do a Folk Music of Our Land album. And I think Pastures of Plenty was on there. So anyway, that was my first real bluegrass album, and it was Earl Scruggs, and I was gone from there.
I heard you also say that he literally changed your life.
Oh, I'm sputtering here because my life I wouldn't be married to the woman I'm married to. I wouldn't have the family I have. I wouldn't be living. My life would have been totally different without Earl Scruggs.
Wow.
My whole life would have gone in a whole different, who knows? I'd be selling shoes right now, which is nothing wrong with that at all.
Right.
I'd be doing something different for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was this kind of laid back, kind of soft spoken, shy kid from North Carolina who just changed the world. And that's not just me. That's a whole lot of people.
A whole lot of people.
Changed Bill Monroe's life, too, for that matter.
Do you remember your first meeting with him?
Yeah, I think... I saw him like in 63 or 64 because Flatt and Scruggs came to Cornell University, and I went down and saw them. But meeting him, it was somewhere in the 70s. I was at a festival, and he was there, and I just introduced myself. And so it was a, sort of a casual thing.
Right.
But
right.
Just sort of saying, it was sort of a shaking a howdy.
Right. But then you became friends later on, right? You actually were part of each other's lives.
Well, yeah. I can't say it was a big part. He was a big part of my life, but he, just in various situations, I have this double banjo bluegrass spectacular album, as it's called, on Rounder Records, and I got him to play on it and do a double banjo thing with me on my album. If someone had said, "Someday Earl Scruggs is going to be on your album."
No.
And I was friendly with Earl and his wife and their son Gary. And when Earl would play in New York City, I live in New Jersey these days, and I would come to see him at B.B. King's on 42nd Street. And after the show, I would go backstage, and the rest of the band would have gone, and Gary would be going to get paid. And he said, "Why don't you hang out with Dad?" So
I
just hang out in the dressing room with him, and we just, converse. And that happened a couple of times, and just over the years talking to him on the phone. So we were pretty friendly.
Yeah. Oh, that must have been such when you finally meet your hero, right? It must have just been like, pinch yourself, and is this really happening? So yeah, that's a pretty cool thing.
I still pinch myself. I actually was friendly with Earl Scruggs.
Yeah. Not a lot of people can say that, and a lot of people admire that guy. So yeah, that's a pretty cool notch to have in your belt. So you lived in Syracuse. By the way, my daughter goes to Ithaca, so I'm really familiar with that neck of the woods up there. But you moved down to New York City in the early 70s and really opened up your career down there.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I was playing with like-minded musicians. I did an album, speaking of Ithaca, with a group called Country Cooking. We did a few albums, actually, but we did this one album, the double banjo album with this guy, Pete Warnick, anyway, the band was based in Ithaca, and I would come down from Syracuse to play. And we recorded this second album, and the guy who was leading the band, Pete Warnick, invited a couple of people to come up and play from New York City. A guy named Andy Statman, he's kind of kick-started the current klezmer movement, and an amazing mandolin player and clarinet player. Another guy named Kenny Kosek, great fiddler, and we recorded the album. And after as Kenny and Andy were going back to New York City on the bus, they said, "Hey, let's get Tony and let's put a band together with him." So when they got down to New York, they called me and said, "Hey, you want to move to New York and we'll start a band?" So we did, and it was called Breakfast Special. It was one of
and the food. The food. What's going on with all the food names?
It was Country Cooking, and then Breakfast Special, and then I was actually simultaneously in a third band that I was playing with in Syracuse called Country Granola, which was America's first and last sports rock band, but that's another story.
Oh, wow.
I am a lineman for the Giants, and I play the front line. And that was one of our tunes, anyway. But yeah. So I was in food bands at that point in my life for some reason.
For some reason, that is so great. That is so great. I love those names. It's like, well, you can't make this stuff up twice. Were you? I don't think were you consciously doing that, or did it just kind of happen that way?
Oh, it just happened that way.
Yeah.
It just worked out that way.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. Tony, you have since collaborated with so many. You are a teacher. You have an online school. Tell me about that. And you really start with beginners, don't you?
Yeah, this about 12 years ago, I was approached by a company called Artist Works. They're based out of Napa, California, which is a horrible place to have to go to once in a while to film new lessons.
Oh,
but anyway,
gosh.
I do it anyway.
I mean, really?
Yeah. I know. I suffer for my banjo. Anyway, they approached me to do an online banjo school, and there were already a few other schools. They had a rapper actually, and a jazz guitar player, et cetera. I was like their fourth person, and so that was 12 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. And it's a school that starts like absolute beginning. Here's how you hold a banjo, and goes all the way through really fancy stuff with Bela Fleck at the end, and everything in between. Lots of Earl Scruggs. It's a bluegrass school primarily, although we get into some other areas as well. And I have over 50 interviews with Earl and Steve Martin, and just a whole bunch. John McEwen from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and just like top banjo players. And the nice thing about it is people can send in a video, which I respond to. It goes through a queue. And so I can, give sort of one-on-one teaching to whoever that person is who sends that in.
So cool. I'm going to suggest, if anyone's interested in that, to go onto your website, TonyTrischka.com, for info, because that's pretty amazing. Now, Bela Fleck, you are his mentor, which you guys get together and play a lot, or?
Not these days so much, but I played on his most recent album, which is ridiculous, My Bluegrass Heart. He had me and a guy named Noam Pikelny from the Punch Brothers.
Oh, sure. I know him.
We did a triple banjo thing, and it was, David Grisman was on there, and Billy Strings, and on this particular cut, and Stuart Duncan, and Jerry Douglas. It was, sort of the second line musicians.
Wow.
So
wow.
It was really fun to get together and do that.
And this is on Bela's new album. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that's his latest album, which is touring. And he sold out Carnegie Hall. He's going to be doing that on January 9th. So,
that's beautiful.
It's an amazing record, an amazing tour, too. They do it live, and it's ridiculous. But anyway. Yeah, he was, some kid called me when he was, Bela called me when he was 16 years old. When I was living up in the Bronx, and he was living in Manhattan, and he wanted to take lessons, so I gave him some lessons. And my first album had just come out back in, again, it was probably 74, and he wanted to learn some of these weird tunes that I had on there, and so I showed them to him, and after a few months it was like, this guy doesn't need lessons anymore. Even at the age of 16, he was already Bela Fleck.
Wow. So, wow. Amazing. Yeah, he is quite a performer, absolutely. And another person who you have mentored is Steve Martin. Yeah,
that's a strong word for when it comes to Steve Martin. We shared a bill back in 1974, I want to say, a place in the Village. It was just some bistro somewhere down there. Some club, and we shared the bill for 2 nights, and then the next 2 nights it was our band, Breakfast Special, and a group called the Buckingham Knicks. They were our opening act, because they were just, are you familiar with them?
I'm not.
The Buckingham Knicks?
I'm writing them down, though. I'm definitely going to check them out. Yeah,
it was Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks.
Okay, all right.
And they wanted to do a showcase, and so they opened up for us. It doesn't really work that way anymore, I don't think. Nor does it work that way with Steve. But anyway, that's when I first met Steve. And then when I did my double banjo album, and he was apparently getting more into the banjo. He started in high school, and he played it all the way through, but was getting more interested. So I asked him if he'd be on it, and he was ended up playing on 2 cuts, and we've been friendly ever since. And you produced his Grammy-nominated album also, right? 2011, The Rare Bird Alert? Yes, Rare Bird Alert, which was really fun. I helped kind of get him set up on his first album, which is called The Crow. I did, put the band together and found a studio and did some pre-production work on that. But John McEwen ended up producing that, and then Steve invited me to produce the second album, the banjo album, the new era, as it were, called Rare Bird Alert. Yeah,
right.
Which was really fun. So,
oh yeah, I can imagine. This latest album, I've listened to it, and it's a pretty powerful album called Shall We Hope. If you wouldn't mind talking a few minutes about how you conceptualized that album.
Well, it started out without any conception at all. I had just put out a previous album called Great Big World, and I wrote a couple of tunes on there. I mean, on most of my albums, I'd have one or two, probably one song with lyrics that I would write. Because I used to write tortured poetry when I was in high school, so I guess that got me started somehow. But anyway, I did a couple of songs on Great Big World, and then I was started into writing some lyrics because it makes everything three-dimensional rather than another banjo instrumental. So I decided that I wanted to write a song about a riverboat gambler, and I took as a kind of, I borrowed the music or stole the music from Jimmy Rogers, the singing brakeman who recorded in 1928. Kind of a blue yodel sort of a thing. I just took his paradigm and just put lyrics to it. Anyway, and that got me started. And then I'm going to write a song about a great train robbery from the Civil War from 1862, I think, 2 or 3, I think 2, where these Union soldiers and spies stole and hijacked a train, a Confederate train, down in Georgia, and tore up rail lines and knocked down telegraph poles, that sort of thing. And then I started thinking, well, here I am in the mid-1800s, let's see where this can go. Anyway, it just developed from there. It was just randomly writing some tunes, and then it started taking on a life of its own and became what became Shall We Hope. And it was a 12-year project. It came out this past January.
12 years. Wow.
Yeah, from the beginning, writing the first song to continuing to write songs and reworking it and tweaking it and recording it and everything, from beginning to end, it was 12 years.
Wow. Well, bravo. Very well done. Beautifully done. And I've really gotten into it since doing my homework and learning more. And really, I listen to albums the whole way through, not just a track. And when you do that, I don't know, it all comes together so nicely. So, great album. Thank you. You're welcome. We're playing a few of the Christmas music pieces, and I also am going to play a few tracks from Shall We Hope. I'm going to play On the Mississippi as well as Christmas Cheer. So we've got some great music that's coming up. And you've been to the Town Crier before, which is where you'll be tomorrow, correct?
Yes. I was first there in 74 with a breakfast special.
There you go.
I'm spacing the name of the little town that it was in. But anyway, so I've been playing for Phil
Beekman.
Since pre-Beekman. Beacon and Beekman. No, it was...
he started in Beekman, and then he went to Pauling. And
anyway.
Even pre that, okay. All right.
Even pre that, I believe, yeah. But anyway, I played at all of his iterations.
Aww.
Anyway, he's got great chocolate desserts there, so that's the only reason I'm.
My God, the chocolate torte! Like if I know I'm going there, it's like I have to have the chocolate torte cake. It's
the chocolate torte.
Yes. Yes,
my whole life revolves around that.
Yes, well, good.
Get the banjo. Give me that chocolate torte.
Oh my gosh, exactly. Or take a break and have the chocolate torte before and after. A lot of great Pete Seeger memorabilia at the Town Crier in Beacon.
Yeah.
So they've got the big old banjo, makeshift banjo above the dressing rooms there, and beautiful paintings. Yeah. Of course, Beacon was Pete Seeger's home for a really long time. And you have a few shows coming up. On Friday, you'll be at Club Passam in Cambridge, and on Sunday in Galway, New York. That's up your old neck of the woods there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little north of Albany. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a wonderful place called the Cock and Bull, and we have a wonderful time there, and the gentleman that runs it has, amazing food, as does Phil Sagano. The food there is great. So come for the music and stay for the food as well. But it's Galway is one of our favorite places to play, as is the Town Crier. Yeah, well, we're glad to have you there tomorrow. Now, any little hints of what you'll be doing tomorrow night? As far as songs? I have no idea. We don't have a repertoire. We're going to sort of fake it. I don't know. Good. I might sing a bunch of songs. No, I'm teasing. This is actually the silver anniversary of this holiday show that I've been doing. Our 25th anniversary, and we have a guy named Tim Erickson who has been there from the beginning. Because I put out an album 25 years ago, or actually a little bit longer than that, a Christmas album, and I wanted to have some Shape Notes singing on it, which is this kind of singing that dates back into the 1700s, late 1700s. I think it began in New England and went down south into Alabama. And for people that couldn't read music, there'd be music staff lines, and rather than having just a oval note, there'd be like a triangle on one line, and then in the space there'd be a square, and then a circle, and people just from looking at the symbols would know what note to sing. It was like sort of a do, re, mi sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. And that's called Shape Note singing. It's this really eerie, wonderful kind of music. So he does a lot of that. He sang in the movie Cold Mountain, and he actually was on the Oscars singing it.
Wow.
With a big group of people. So Tim Erickson is a force of nature, wonderful, wonderful guitar player and singer. And a woman named Hannah Reed, who's been with us for the last except for last year, but the last 3 years that we did the show. She's Scottish and another wonderful singer, wonderful fiddler. We're going to do some of her original tunes, and everything is obviously holiday and Christmas related.
Oh, nice.
And I put some music to an Emily Dickinson poem that has a wintry sort of flavor to it, and we're gonna do that, the two of us. And great. Go ahead, sorry.
No. You recorded an album here up our way at the legendary Levon Helm Studios with part of this is the remake of it, or it came out in 2015. You re-recorded, or how? Tell me.
Well, I had this Christmas album in whenever it was, like 2000. I don't even remember, 2005, right. And then a totally different Christmas album recorded live at the bar,
a second one. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You just can't put out enough Christmas albums, It's and we have a whole new repertoire with this band. So, and just to finish off, we have a bass player, Larry Cook, who's from Brooklyn, great, wonderful singer and bass player, and my son Sean is playing drums.
Oh, wonderful!
Trischka,
Great!
So we've got a family thing going on here.
You got a family really thing, and you're starting tonight. Yeah. I know you have a show going, so we're definitely going to let you go. Where are you performing tonight?
We are in Whately, Massachusetts. A friend of mine up here has something called Watermelon Wednesdays, which during the summer is in this beautiful chapel in West Whately, which is way out in the country, and just a really fun gig. And we're playing at the Town Hall in Whately tonight.
Oh, lovely.
And it's called Wintermelon instead of Watermelon. It's Wintermelon.
More appropriate, I think. Yeah.
More appropriate for our situation. So anyway, that's where we are tonight.
Well, safe travels down to tomorrow, and enjoy. Save yourself for the fudge there, the cake, the chocolate torte. It's just really,
I'm not going to eat between now and then. I just got to savor that possibility.
Yes, do that.
And if I may say, I've done many interviews over the years, and this has been one of the most enjoyable, and you're one of the most knowledgeable people to talk to about this. So,
Tony, thank you. That's very kind.
And I mean that.
I really appreciate that. I would love to spend more time with you because we haven't even scratched the surface yet. So I'll be in touch, and we'll do more in depth and spend some real time. But I know you have to go for your show tonight, obviously. So thank you so much, and I'd love to have you back. Enjoy tomorrow. Enjoy the chocolate torte, and thank you for the gift that you've given the world with your talent, your musicianship, and you've touched many lives, and thank you for that and for being who you are. So, Tony Trischka, safe travels to you. I appreciate your time, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Rita. I so appreciate that. You're wonderful.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it very much.
Okay, thank you. Safe travels.
Stay safe.
Have fun. Bye.
Thanks.
91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. The legendary Tony Trischka, TonyTrischka.com. You can get information on his website where he's playing. More importantly, tomorrow night, you got to go check this guy out. Town Crier, the legendary Town Crier in Beacon. Tickets available at towncrier.com. And right now, to a lucky caller, I'm going to give away a pair of tickets to see Tony Trischka tomorrow. Couple of things, though, before you start dialing the numbers. You need to know that there's COVID safety protocols in place. You have to be vaccinated to go to Town Crier, and they're going to ask you for proof of that along with ID. So get that out of the way. And if you're available to go tomorrow night, right, don't just call to win tickets, but actually be able to go to Town Crier in Beacon tomorrow. The show starts either at 7 or 8 p.m. You can visit towncrier.com for all the info to that show. And now all you have to do, if you meet those protocols, give us a call here. One very lucky person and a guest will be going to see the legendary Tony Trischka tomorrow and tomorrow being December 16th, Thursday night at the Town Crier. You can give us a call here at 845-437-7178. Again, the phone number here, 845-437-7178. You and a friend can go see some live music tomorrow at the legendary Town Crier in Beacon, New York. It's one of the oldest continuous running venues in the country by one owner, and that would be Mr. Phil Saganer. Again, a pair of tickets for a lucky caller. All you have to do is give us a call at 845-437-7178. Please be available to go to the show tomorrow in Beacon at Town Crier, 8 p.m., Thursday, December 16th. We'll take the callers now. Let's keep listening to some music from Tony Trischka. And in the meantime, give us a call at 845-437-7178. 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie. .3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. That was Tony Trischka, Christmas Medley. And we have a winner. Huge congratulations. The phones are going off the wall, off the roof here. We have a winner. No more phone calls. Thank you to Paul for listening and for calling in. Paul from Newburgh won a pair of tickets to go see Tony Trischka at Town Crier in Beacon. There are still tickets available. If anybody didn't win, just visit towncrier.com for tickets to see the legendary Tony Trischka tomorrow night at town crier in Beacon. And as Tony and I were saying on the interview, save yourself for the chocolate tart. It must be one of the best desserts I've ever had. It's so good. It's so good. Tony Trischka. And if you missed part or all of that interview, we will be uploading it tonight to the YouTube channel, the LocalMotion YouTube channel, as well as Facebook page. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to LocalMotion on 91.3 on YouTube as well as Facebook. We're going to play 2 more tracks of Tony's music. It is 4:39. I am your host, Rita Ryan, here with LocalMotion. Let's keep the music going with Tony Trischka. This is off his latest release, which just came out in January of this year. This track is called On the Mississippi. 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie.
She was a dance hall girl from Vicksburg. I was a gambling man. She had a pretty red dress, played me every way she can. I gave her my heart, but she dealt me a losing hand. I had to get away, shot a man for that dance hall girl. At a gambling house in Greenville, I and my pretty pearl. I drew first and my pistol rocked his world. Down to the river, cast that steamboat roll. Was the A.B. Chambers, queen of the Mississippi shore. Paddle wheel turning, smokestack blowing coal. Load up with cotton, pull the plank on the Texas deck. Sheriff on my trail, had to move for they stretched my neck. Natchez to Memphis, had a mighty fast pilot, I guess. Chips where they lay. St. Near St. Louis, A.B. Chambers gone. The back boiler blue lit the midnight sky like dawn. Heading for the coast, eyes just a moving on. Just this one night, let's step back, celebrate and pray. May the cannon cease and peace abide on a Christmas day. Let us still our guns and dry our tears, friends and foe alike. Brother must love brother evermore this Christmas night. Looking across the fortress grounds, sun through thinning clouds, on Smithy's shop and bakehouse door to greet the piney boughs. Some play winter football while waiting for the dinner. It's been a hard, cold autumn and we're looking all the thinner. Christmas cheer this weary year, not like the last you know, but hopefully by the next we'll be united with our families back home. Sergeant Contra Recreation scrambles up a pole. We grease it well, he slides right down, his comrades laugh and roll. Roasted goose and oysters and a super green and hog, all simmered out with beef bone and a thimble full of nog. Now hear the guns within the fort saluting old St. Nick, who's just arrived through Triumph's Arch. He'll do just the trick. Christmas cheer this weary year, not like the last you know, but hopefully by the next we'll be united with our families back home. Fading light of winter, Major Bartlett finds his stocking, a meerschaum pipe awaiting him and pretzels interlocking. Young Colin, our drummer boy, opens up his gift. A jack-in-the-box pops right up, we watch his spirits lift. As Santa comes, so he must leave for Richmond and the West. Galang, he cries, and off he speeds, a sleigh with festive dress. His absence leaves an empty space, a song can never fill. A battle looms, the war resumes, we face the evening chill. Christmas cheer this weary year, not like the last you know, but hopefully by the next we'll be united with our families back home.
.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Tony Trischka, his latest album called Shall We Hope. We just heard Christmas Cheer. We also heard the track called On the Mississippi. Again, that's also from Shall We Hope. You might want to check that one out. It's an unbelievable album, just released January of this year. The latest album from Tony Trischka. Tony Trischka will be performing tomorrow right here in Beacon, New York, the beautiful Hudson Valley town of Beacon, New York. Tony Trischka will be there tomorrow with his group. And congratulations again to Paul, a lucky listener from Newburgh who won a pair of tickets to go see Tony Trischka tomorrow. Tickets still available. You can visit towncrier.com for info and tickets to tomorrow's show and their incredible weekend lineup as well. TonyTrischka.com for more info. Tony will also be, if you're tuning in from Massachusetts near the Boston area, he'll be performing Friday at Club Passam in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And Tony Trischka will be in Galway, New York on Sunday at Cock and Bull. Legendary Tony Trischka. Thank you for your time here today, Tony. That was truly an honor for me. TonyTrischka.com. He has a show tonight. Otherwise, I think we would have talked a lot longer. So that just means I got to have him back for another time, for another show, which I'm definitely going to work on because too good to pass that one up. So that concludes the 50 minutes of devotion to Tony Trischka and his performance tomorrow and just his career in music in general, quite honestly. We are going to devote the rest of the time, which means from now until 6 p.m., to LocalMotion, to the show, the local music scene here in the Hudson Valley, which is what this show is about. So I'm only doing 2 more shows this year, which means today and next Wednesday. And then I'm taking a few weeks of vacation. And so what I'm focusing on mostly 90%, these next 2 shows will be music that was released this year, mostly from local musicians and music that was sent to me. I'm sure there's way more local music released, but this is what I know of, and this is what was sent to me. So I say that now, but the song I'm about to play is nowhere near any of that. So that's why I say mostly. I start out from now on, and I start out my show after a guest or before a guest by paying homage to Tony Falco, who left us on October 28th this year. He passed away. And what he did for the arts and for music in the Mid-Hudson Valley is exemplary. And there'll never be another Tony Falco. So he left us with playlists on Spotify. And every show that I do, I'm going to play a track from his Spotify playlist. And believe me, it'll take me years to get through it, which is a good thing. And then when I'm through it, I'm going to start all over again. And I'm doing this every single show. I'm also going to do today, because I have a little time, I'm going to read from a musician who knew and loved Tony. There was an article brought out about Tony in the Delaware and Hudson Canvas Flyer. It's a free arts magazine and entertainment guide. And they did a memoriam for Tony Falco. And they asked several people to write some memories and something they know about Tony. So I'm going to read this. This is going to take a minute or two, but it's about Tony Falco. And this was written by Neil Alexander. Quote, I'm honored to write you something about Tony. I have a plethora of stories and anecdotes. Tony's passing has hit a lot of us very hard. I myself am finding it to be a profound loss. We've known the Falcos for 21 plus years. Our kids play together. The things I most remember about Tony Falco and his wonderful family were the house concerts in what came to be known as the Building, behind their family home in Marlborough, and their extraordinary hospitality. As one of, if not the, as some people assure me, first acts to perform there, a jazz trio comprised of bassist Robert Kopech, drummer Marvin Bugala Smith, and myself, my wife Nita and I went to concert after wonderful concert, always potluck affairs with food overflowing, kids running about, and so many wonderful people. I performed there many times with a wide variety of groups, including my group Nail. When Nail played in 2005, a young Lee Falco, age 8, sat in with us on drums. Before every performance, Julie Falco would make a meal for the performers and the family, and we'd all sit in the house and swap stories. At some point, Tony acquired his first piano, and soon after I performed my arrangement of The Rite of Spring. During the performance, a bat flew out of the rafters and circled the stage. With my head buried in the piano keys, I didn't notice it, but after the show, Tony excitedly said, "Did you see the bat?" He had a gleam in his eye, and he was genuinely excited by the whole thing, reminiscing about it for years afterwards. Eventually, concerts in the building got to be standing room only at every show. We could no longer attend regularly, and we didn't need to. It was out of the scene that Tony got the idea to create a real full-size working venue, and that's the Falcon as we know it today. At the heart of all this is the magic blue box, the donation box, still in use today at the Falcon. Tony never charged a cover. Everything was donation-based. It didn't matter if you didn't have a dime to your name, you could still come enjoy the music. No one was turned away. Every time I performed there, I made more money than expected. Every time. And so did everyone else I talked to. The Falcon is a living testament to Tony Falco's unrelenting vision and support for living artists. Unquote. Neil Nail Alexander. Let's listen to a track that Tony added to his playlist September 29th of this year. You'll know this song. Let's take a listen. For Tony Falco, 91.3 WVKR.
Let me run with you tonight. I'll take you on a moonlight ride. There's someone I used to see, but she don't give a damn for me. But let me get to the point. Let's roll another joint and turn the radio loud. I'm too alone to be proud, and you don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels to be me. People come, people go. Some grow young, some grow cold. I woke up in between memory and a dream. So let's get to the point. Let's roll another joint. Let's head on down the road. There's somewhere I gotta go, and you don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels to be me. My old man was born to rock. He's still trying to beat the clock. Think of me what you will. I've got a little space to fill. So let's get to the point. Let's roll another joint. Let's head on down the road. There's somewhere I gotta go, and you don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels. No, you don't know how it feels to be me. You don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels. No, you don't know how it feels.
91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. It's 5 o'clock. You are tuned in. LocalMotion here each and every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. If it's your first time or you're just turning on right now, this show is all about music of the Hudson Valley. That was a song we just heard. Of course, I know Tom Petty's not Hudson Valley. I got that. The track is called You Don't Know How It Feels by Tom Petty. You've all heard it before. I played that today, even though this is a local Hudson Valley show, to honor Tony Falco, who was the owner of the Falcon in Marlborough, who passed away October 28th. And every show that I'm doing here on LocalMotion, I will be playing a track from Tony Falco's Spotify playlist. So that's how come you heard that. Now, for the next hour, you'll hear nothing about music that was not somehow either recorded or performed or produced here in the Hudson Valley. So that's what we're going to do for the next hour. And we're going to start this hour off with a wonderful new album. I'm enjoying this. It's by Bruce T. Carroll. And let's take a listen to a track of his right here, right now on 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie.
Well, there's a flea on a dog and a tick on a deer, a tiny bird on a big antelope. The rancher is flexing, the farmer's spitting up beer, and the waitress is giving up hope. The tide is broken and the table is scratched, dead leaves blowing from the door. All the words been spoken, all the schemes been hatched. We don't have to be here no more. Oh baby, I'm leaving you. I got a 3-day ride to the coast. Of all the places that I've been through, I'm gonna miss this town the most. You got fish in the river, got deer in the glen, wild birds parading the brush. Well, I'll be back, baby, I don't know when. Honey, what's the rush? This was a prairie town when I grew up, amid arrowheads and dinosaur bones. Now children play in piles of paper cups, plastic straws, and cellular phones. Family tables and friendly bars where I once had a seat. There's fearful calls for building walls and people sleeping in the street. Oh baby, I'm leaving you. This town has lost its charm. Oh baby, I'm leaving you before I come to any more harm. They got fish in the river, got deer in the glen, wild birds parading the brush. Well, I'll be back, baby, I don't know when. Honey, what's the rush? So my girl came to me the other day and said, honey, we've been together 20 years. Ain't it time we got married? Wait, what? Well, I've done my best, I've done my worst. I've lived and died by the sword. I finished last and I finished first. I've been a peasant and I've been a lord. Oh, I'm so tired, and that ain't bad. You don't live forever, I know. This life is just a dream that I think I had. Now I think it's time to go. Hello, baby, I'm leaving you. St. Peter stands by the gate. Well, they tell me that the line moves fast and no one has to wait. They got fish in the river, got deer in the glen, wild birds parading the brush. Well, I'll be back, baby, I don't know when. Honey, what's the rush? They got fish in the river, got deer in the glen, wild birds parading the brush. Well, I'll be back, baby, I don't know when. Honey, what's the rush? Well, I'll be back, baby, I don't know when. Honey, what's the rush?
What does love mean to you?
That's a question. Like butterflies all the time.
Young love is like fiery.
Feels like a rocket ship.
It's different than when you're really young. We used to say we're each other's hell, dream, and nothing in between.
We've had our ups, we've had our downs.
Yeah, it does get lonely out there. They stand there and be crying when I left. You know, don't go, and you got to go.
I rode a train and hitchhiked Florida to North Carolina to go see him.
It's my first wife. It's been 30 years now, and still ain't over it.
I could see it in the air. Every word was like smoke from a cigarette. You were blowing in your hands. The heater broke in the Oldsmobile and the light in your eyes. Alone on the freeway, I was stranded in the bed. You were listening to the dark side of the moon. I could barely see your eyes. Psilocybin in a hotel room and the light in your eyes. The waves on the ceiling. I'll be your bright side, baby, tonight. I'll be your bright side, baby, tonight. Tonight. You were tired of Tacoma. I was tired of believing we were right. Losing every other friend, finding nothing in the afterlife but the light in your eyes. Alone on a feeling. I'll be your bright side, baby, tonight. I'll be your bright side, baby, tonight. Tonight. You're stranded on the bridge. You're crying for your kids. I'll be your bright side, baby, tonight. 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 I could see it in the air. Every word was like smoke from a cigarette. Sun is coming up ahead. Get your crack in the windshield, shining the light in your eyes.
I would think nervous is probably an understatement.
Alone on the freeway. I'll be your bright side, baby, tonight. I'll be your bright side, baby, tonight. Tonight. You're stranded on the bridge. The cops are closing in. I'll be your bright side, baby, tonight. Tonight. Tonight.
91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Brand new music by the Lumineers called Bright Side. You wonder why that's on a local Hudson Valley music show. Well, it is because David Barron is the producer of that album, and he lives just outside of Woodstock, and the Lumineers come to the Hudson Valley to record their music. So, pretty cool stuff. Bright Side, new single from the album coming out. I believe they're dropping it next month, and then the Lumineers will start their tour, and I believe they're starting over in Europe. They've played a few shows here and there. Of course, anyone that knows the Lumineers is following them, so I don't need to say any more about that. But David Barron is, we are so lucky to have this talented, brilliant musician, record producer, engineer, composer, talent here in Boyceville, New York, Sun Mountain Studios. David Barron has worked with the Lumineers on their past several albums. He's also worked with Lenny Kravitz. He worked with Shania Twain. The list goes on and on and on. He and Simon Felice both co-produce the Lumineers, and I can't wait to have him back on the show. He's been on several times, and he is a wealth of knowledge, and he scores films, and he's just an amazing record producer. David Barron Music, check him out. Lumineers, you've got all their info. I don't need to give anything on that. We started the 5 o'clock hour today on Local Motion with new music by Bruce T. Carroll. The album called First Bird to Sing. We heard What's the Rush. Talented number of musicians on this album with Bruce. This was an album that was released this year, which is mostly what I'm starting to play these last two shows of Local Motion for this year. Trying to play primarily new music that was released this year, because a lot of it was sent to me from local musicians here, and I want to get on air as much of it as I can. So Bruce T. Carroll, First Bird to Sing. Joining him on parts of this album is Sarah Milanovic, Brandon Morrison, Will Bryant, Lee Falco, Connor Kennedy, Andy Stack, Mark Schulman, Tommy Mandel, Gary Schreiner, Jay Collins, Chris Payson, and Carla Springer. Whew, the best of the best in the Hudson Valley. Bruce T. Carroll. Check out the website. He's playing out, and this is a really lovely album. Congratulations, Bruce. Another new album, and this is their first. You remember the group Orleans? Of course you do. Well, they finally released their first Christmas album, and it's called New Star Shining. Let's take a listen to a track from that. Yeah, let me get it loaded in here. Let's take a listen to Orleans, and it's so cool. They finally came out with a Christmas album, and we're going to have John Hall on the show next month. Let's take a listen right here, right now. New Star Shining, 91.3 WVKR.
She was an ordinary girl who loved a carpenter. Now they're making wedding plans. She knows he could leave her there to bear the shame, but he's not that kind of man. She's carrying a child, and they both know that it's not his. It will be a miracle if they can get through this. It's Mary's Christmas, and she's not sure just what tomorrow holds, but she's holding on. It's hard believing, it's beyond reason how a miracle is made through all of this on Mary's Christmas. People love to talk and how the rumors spread. It seems they just can't understand how precious is a newborn child, a priceless gift. No matter what the circumstance, she's been told the child she holds will be a king someday. Tonight he is her baby boy, the world will have to wait. It's Mary's Christmas, she's not sure just what tomorrow holds, but she's holding on. It's hard believing, it's beyond reason how a miracle is made through through all of this on Mary's Christmas. It's Mary's Christmas, and she's not sure just what tomorrow holds, but she's holding on. It's hard believing, it's beyond reason, but a miracle is made through all of this on Mary's Christmas. She's just an ordinary girl who loves a carpenter.
One day I told myself I would do everything I thought I should. Good for you and good for me. What happened next I really did not see. One day I bought myself a book. I told myself I'd learn to cook. Cook for you and cook for me. What happened next I really did not see. Little witch come to my lips, said I should make a go of it. One day I told myself I would do everything I thought I should. Good for you and good for me. What happened next I really did not see. One day the rumors were all true, and who's ashamed to be with who? Good for you and good for me. What happened is we really don't agree. Little witch come to my lips, said I should make a go of it. Rumors were all true. Now who's ashamed to be with who? Good for you and good for me. What happened next I really did not see. Little witch come to my lips, said I must make a go of it.
Oh yeah, 91.3 WVKR, KJ Dennert getting it done. One Day, the track called, and that's from Destiny, her album, one of my favorite albums, probably my favorite album that she has released. KJ Dennert will be performing tomorrow night, Thursday, at the Falcon in Marlborough, live at thefalcon.com. You can call and make reservations and go check out Wonderful lineup, as always, at the Falcon. KJ Denner tomorrow night. We also heard Christmas music, because it's just the season. Orleans, New Star Shining. And this is Orleans' first Christmas release. We heard the track called Mary's Christmas. And John Hall will be my guest here on LocalMotion next month, which will be next year. So I'm looking forward to having him back on. He came on, I remember, right after the 2016 election. So it's been 5 years, and I really look forward to having him back on the show next month, next year. OrleansOnline.com. Again, OrleansOnline.com. And they're going out there. They're playing their music and keeping it going. And great old group from way back when. And their songs are legendary. OrleansOnline.com. Keep the music flowing here at 521. I'm Rita Ryan, your host with LocalMotion, here each and every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Another up-and-coming young artist, Mr. Dylan Doyle. He is performing one final show here on the East Coast before he ventures out west for a little bit. So he'll be performing Friday night at Town Crier. And Dylan also released some new music this year. His album is titled Pleasures of the Damned. Let's take a listen to a track from that right here, right now on 91.3 WVKR.
Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my darling. Goodbye, my baby. I just wish there was something I could say. My girl, she's a heartbreak queen, but her heart's never been seen. Her eyes are blue and her heart is black. Once she leaves you, she ain't coming back. Wears a crown of sorrow and a gown of mystery. Where she'll come and she'll go, leaving no history. Best to get what you can before she finds another man. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my darling. Goodbye, my baby. Baby, don't you leave me, no, no. I met her saying goodbye. She left saying hello. I turned around slow and slide just to watch her go. Makes the day and darkest night when she's fading from your side. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my darling. Goodbye, my baby. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my darling. Goodbye, my baby. I just wish there was something I could say, something I could say to make you wanna stay.
found her way out of here, leaving all those summer nights behind. Under stars so ripe with dreams, we didn't dare to dream while gravity was holding us down. But I could never let go of the weight of the world. She said our hard days and heartaches would seem so small if we could fly to the moon and see them all like astronauts. Like a rocket, she burned out too fast. Nothing that's too good to last, so we gotta hold what we can. And when the sky's too dark to see the stars and crazy dreams, I wish for one of those